All right, folks, I hope everyone is doing well. I'm on a 500 test man server with over 400 people on it. We are about to get into two great maps. Well, hopefully we have time for Hagerstown, but we certainly have Hooker's Push. It was an absolute blast of a nail biter. I actually got to play some first person on Eastwood Skirmish in the last round and just barely edged out. No thanks to me, but we got it. Anyways, Hooker's Push is one of the biggest maps, one of the biggest skirmish maps in War of Rights. It feels fairly competitive. The worst thing about it is the Union spawn is way back there. Right? You have to come all the way forward through Miller's cornfield, come out the other side. The point of contention, it's a little hard to tell here. If you are unfamiliar with this, it's just this area in the middle of this open field. And there's a lot of forward and backward. There's also a fair amount of left and right. The artillery on here is interesting. I've never enjoyed playing Union artillery, but there are basically two batteries. The first is there. The second one is back there, and I've been told, and I kind of get this, I guess if you wheel the artillery over to like this fence here, you can pretty much see everything. So I'm zoomed in and I'm up probably, I don't know, top of the, I can see quite a bit, but you can see point of contention. You can see a lot of other things that you can't, I guess you can't quite make out here, and you kind of just need to know from your range sheets if you have those. But anyways, that's that. If you're familiar with other maps, that's Nicodemus Hill. And so, yeah, I mean, that's Nicodemus Hill. Hopefully, we'll get to stay on and do Hagerstown Turnpike next. This is the Turnpike. Part of it is in play once you get up here. We're going to take a look at the CSA batteries, and then we'll take a look at the leadership for both sides. This is, I believe, Battery Pogue is a 3-gun battery. Battery Brockenbrough is, it's one that makes it onto a lot of maps if you've seen it before, but here they are on the Turnpike. These guys pretty much have my favorite position to be in if I'm going to do CSA already. It's kind of just at the crest of this, the rise of this hill. You can see a lot of the corn. You're not up as far as Pogue if you get run over. The CSA is doing what they can to try to deter. Sometimes the Union will send, they have a Sharps company, and so that's the other thing we should see with the ballistics and scopes update that just dropped. We should see the, I think it's the second U.S. sharpshooters, and their selected NCOs will have those scopes. And then there is a 2-gun battery right here. This is the third and last one for the CSA. This one I also like. There's some options. Sometimes you'll see the CSA roll a gun or both of them up here, and they like to be able to cover the point and just shoot at anything on the right side. The Union, for its approaches, I mean, it can do a number of things. I would say more often than not, it tends to go for the CSA right, Union left, because it's harder to hit with artillery. There's a defilade coming out of the corn, which you can just barely make. The tree line is really the boundary, more or less. There's a set of rocks they can leapfrog up to, and then once they build up a mass there, they can either try to wrap around, or they can push through to point. They can also come kind of center, push the first clump of rocks. Those are point rocks, which once you have those, you're pretty much on point. There is a defilade behind the point rocks, which is right here. The CSA will frequently use until the Union commits, and then they'll try to shoot them up in the open. And then the far left, I mean, you can run through the OD, but that's about it. It never seems all that great. And right on schedule, the second U.S. sharpshooters come out. Let's see if we see any of those NCOs with the scopes on their rifles. I got a screenshot the other day. Yeah, there's a group of CSA, remember, in those bushes who were waiting for him.
We gotta run. Run.
Yeah, I mean, as the Sharps guys, you just want to stay away. But this is actually a bigger push than I expected. For leadership, as we're getting into it, I'll unmute the leaders. Saw Krabby Brute play a lot. I'm just getting into this again after a while, and so I'm not up on all the pub officers, but several of these names I still recognize from the past, and we'll see what we get here. But anyways, yeah, this is a slightly larger, looks like a regular infantry company, along with the U.S. sharpshooters are going to go out and eventually make it a center push. And then there's one more company that's making... I guess it's going to be a kind of hedge. They could either flex to the far rocks or they could support to the center. Given that their friendlies are in the center, I'd probably expect them to go there. Looks like the Union only has one artillery officer. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, we got almost 450 on the server already on a map this big. I kind of just want to watch that. I do want to do an artillery count. Sometimes you can overcommit. So Brockenbro, only 6. 6 in Pogue. 5 in Jordan for 2 guns. So those should be busy. 12, 17 in artillery versus 10 in artillery. And the overall numbers, CSA has about a 10-man advantage. Although the Union has put less into their artillery. So it almost comes close to even. Union has the Sharps, but the downside of that is that they only get 1 flag for that Sharps regiment. So it's always going to be the case that it's 3 flags at most for the Union attackers versus 4 for the CSA defenders. And so if the attackers lose a flag, particularly with these large groups, particularly if it's one of the infantry companies, because the Sharps are limited in how many they can take, it's any sort of attrition fight is going to be the pits for the Union. So flag discipline, really flag security, is going to be paramount. Those are probably semi-ambitious volleys, but at the very least, the CSA wouldn't expect to be taking too many casualties. Another reason why is the Union attackers, you want to maintain that flag security and discipline, is because if you lose it, it's not only that a lot of guys are out of action, but you have to come all the way from a mile away back and spawn to make anything happen. So you don't want that. But a pretty long-range shootout generally advantages the defenders because it's likely to be inaccurate. We'll get a better account of the Union line here. And that came from, that looks like Brockenbro, right on that mound that I, no, that's Pogue. Brockenbro is back there. That came out from Pogue. That's almost where I like to have the gun if I'm going to play Artie on Hagerstown. It's tough. I'm torn on these 2 maps whether I'd want to be in the fight or casting it, but if this ends up getting posted, you know that I ended up casting it. Union's a little bit on the back foot. Usually the attackers sometimes pay a ticket toll on the way in. Arthur's here, so at least his company will be well led. And they're now going to move to the left and take those rocks that were available earlier. It's true. It's also probably something that's just going to happen more if we get these larger servers. The tails on these units, from the head of the line to the back of the line, right, the tailed line, it just gets so much longer than when we were playing on 75, 150-man servers, and you had, fewer companies, but still just had far fewer people to command. And because I think the game is on sale, I think it's like 50% off. I noticed when I was doing this recently that there was a lot of low levels, though a lot of single digits. And yeah, I'm seeing that again. And it looks like it's affected both sides, so it doesn't look like it's overwhelmingly happening to one side. I guess the Union here is going to get healthy, get their spawns in on flag, and then try again. You can see that.
Read the chat. We need everybody reading chat to call out.
Okay. But you see, with this defilade here, there's a lot of protection afforded. If you go back into the corn and add the snake fence in front of it, you're pretty well defended. But it looks like at least the 2 main... Oh, no, the infantry companies are diverging. I think this is U.S. sharpshooters. I think Krabby was leading them. And so... Alright. So I guess we have one Union company squaring off against one CSA one. These were Union... Were these Union skirms? I think so. I think that's just a self-appointed group of Union skirmishers, because they're not the Sharps who would be best at it. They look like they're going to go up and try to fight 1v1, which is good for the Union, but that also means that these two companies, which this may not be great for the Union right here, but you're distracting enough of the CSA. If they're shooting at you, that might allow your group over here to get an advantageous 1v1. Though that Union group looks like it's kind of broken up a bit, and I see CSA reinforcements. So it's going to be 2 flags in action against the one that's over here. So long term, and at these ranges, I think the CSA wins the shootout. The ticket trade, though, we'll see. One of the more effective strategies I've seen work on hookers for the attackers is to go with early caps as often as you can. Again, protecting those flags and all the rest, but the Union skirmish lines are terrible. They kill the ambiance. I understand the advantage, but we can't get the actual numbers, so just pretend you have to fight in double line, double column. Make it look good. But if you don't understand, because you're new to this, I probably shouldn't take advice from me, but the reason why you spread it out is you try to create more gaps so the enemy hits less than when you're solidly packed in there. As long as you're not so far out that you fall out of formation, it can work. If you have enough flags and NCOs and officers moving behind you, you can usually be in formation. But if you spread out too much, you end up going in skirmishing, and then you lose 3 times the number of tickets. Alright, this is usually a spot for the Sharps, because they're small enough that most of them can get the cover. They're happy to do that long-range shooting. Wait, that's the scope right there. You can see that. For whatever reason, I did not see Womp Womp there when I looked through the officers, but I have been known to miss things. Yeah, Union's full on skirmishing. What the Union is doing right is they are, at the very least, sticking together. One of the pitfalls you can sometimes see the Union do when you get up here is that they'll send everybody too far up, and they get isolated, and they get wiped. And then their flags get knocked down somewhere around here. They have to spawn back at main, then they have to wait for the flag to despawn, then they have to spawn the flag in, then they have to move the flag up. And it's a huge amount of time lost off that black timer, which, as the attackers, you really don't want to do. As long as you can keep the skirmish going, and it's relatively even, you should be winning because you're going to have the tickets advantage. But you can see Artie is having little effect on this side so far. I don't know. 10 minutes into the fighting, and that's just due to the undulations in the terrain. Union looks like they want to move up for a little bit closer shots. It also provides a little bit of a defilade as they come through. You can see that as they move down and into it, they have shots on this group, this company that's down here. Now the Union are sort of trickling this way towards the bush. I mean, now those guys definitely look like Sharps, and so the skirmishing makes more sense, but Alright, so overall I think the attackers are in a good spot. They look like they should have the defenders in engaged by about 27 minutes. You see the CSA is opting in the best way possible not to opt for that skirmish lawn, that loose formation. Instead, they're more or less holding it solid. It just looks better. Blue line over here, it's done work. It's looking a little sparse. It's looking very sparse at the moment. And again, this might be the effect of a... Don't do that. Don't do that. It's probably the effect of a long-term shootout. I was going to say when you have fewer flags, but actually you have 2 flags. But they do need to get out of there before they get so small that they end up getting wiped out. And, yeah, this makes sense. I don't know what this third company was doing out here. You know, providing some long-range support to force those 2 out. Because now you leave, well, I think one company up against a beefy company. Your artillery guys didn't know enough to run away. And now what the CSA gotta realize is that if they moved quickly, they could potentially wipe this group. I don't think it's gonna happen. Or at least press these Union groups back into the corn from the casualties they're taking. Alright, CSA reinforcements are coming over. That is a big old wave. Union was moving to cap. Perhaps they wanted to cap with the CSA and engage, so it would be a shorter counterattack. But now that there are, I think, 2 solid companies in action here against this one. Oh, maybe a third. There it is. They're going to have to move around to get around those rocks if they want to have effective shots. I don't think they're that much smaller than the group they're fighting. And if they just committed those rifles, I mean, that can't scare you. They would probably knock this group back into the corn. And in that way, as the defenders, you want to go for a very active defense. You want to constantly be trying to concentrate against the dispersed attackers. If the attackers have dispersed, if the attackers are concentrated, then you disperse with the best terrain possible and try to take advantage shootouts. Where is this group? I was gonna say, where is that company's flag? Alright, so they're gonna come back to these rocks and get healthy. CSA group has opted for long-range flanking fire. That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool to see that shell go through and catch its trail. Alright, so one Union group has gone all the way back to the just outside the corn. CSA group is quite aggressive here and rotating all the way back. They don't have good support from that company, which is too far away to be really effective fire. But sometimes you're shooting for casualties, and other times you're going to take those cooler shootouts so that you don't burn through your own tickets as fast for the defenders. Look at these thick lines. All right, now these guys are a little bit more serious about doing casualties, and so they'll move up. This is a map where if the defenders are really cagey, they can use movement to actually freeze the Union attack, which is one of the reasons why as the Union I'd prefer to cap, because then we pretty much know where they gotta end up. They have to come to us eventually, and then we can kind of stick together and force them up. Freeze the black timer. Make it hot shootouts, or maybe even some melees if we can get our flags out, and then reset. But I suspect the Union's just getting their numbers up before the next push. The tick rate off the CSA's casualties was good earlier. It has slowed down considerably. I don't think it's on pace to put them in taking losses by 17 minutes. Union CSA are at about the same relative ticket stage. But I wonder if the Union's got to start thinking about an early cap. Particularly if this group does withdraw. My guess is it's just going to be to the defilade back here. That appears to be the case. Just to get healthy. This group in the corn would be awkward, but they're going to have to turn to shoot this group. This group has wisely opted to go behind the second fence. I mean, it's already pretty long-range shooting, so it's okay to increase the distance a bit and get that second layer of straight fence in front of you. These guys got to be careful, but as long as they're in skirmishing, it's probably okay. That was a crisp volley. This kind of looks like a total war line. I feel like I just left-click dragged that line and dropped it there. That's pretty cool. And I suspect this group is now healthy. Oh, I don't think it's time for taps yet. I think you're very much in that fight. Listen to the intimidation of that volley. From people not fighting in loose formation. Beautiful. Alright, this group took getting healthy real seriously. If they are healthy, they're probably going to want to come up, because I'm pretty sure the Union has to cap fairly soon. Union dreams of getting the CSA down to taking losses and then capping and holding for, you know, about 6 minutes or so. They're going to burn a lot of time off that black timer before that happens. And the CSA can always run away, which they're doing now. I wonder if that's the Sharps group that came out of there earlier.
No, it's out of bounds.
It is. Yeah. That's a very wide move. But this is the kind of thing where if the Sharps are watching this and they're waiting to see what these guys look, if you're the defense, you can just get the attacker to waste time on that black timer by just doing these kind of movements. They got to eventually come back. I would think that they eventually have to come back here, and as the CSA, I'd be happy. If the Union wants to continue to do the wide movement around the bowl here, go ahead. Because the Union hasn't burned through enough of your tickets. But I'd want to be hanging out near cap, because I think that's what the Union needs to start thinking about. This push up by the Sharps, okay, yeah, that's more than the Sharps. We can see the U.S. flag is with them. They're now running into at least 2 companies, right? Because there's the other CSA group that took refuge. I think it's back there with the artillery. The guns and battery Pogue need to watch out. Okay, at least one other company, so it looks like we have 3 companies in action. Oh, well, soon to be 3 CSA companies in action, plus artillery against the 2 Union. And one of them is a Sharps one. Oh, wait, that's where they ended up. Alright, so maybe they stopped under that shade of trees, but... Alright, so this company probably needs to push up here. I don't know where the last Union company is. Yeah, they're going to try to come in the back and... That CSA company needs to come on over. I guess these guys... Oh, These guys would have been in a nice position to just scoot up and save their friendlies' backsides, but looks like those two companies have had their fun. And we'll see. The Union might actually get a bunch of tickets off the CSA here, and the CSA may lose a flag if the Union is able to hang out. Yeah, there's a CSA company that is chasing ghosts out here. There's no one to shoot. This is probably gonna end up favoring the CSA in the end if the Union loses those flags. And they're not able to retrieve them. Yeah. On the Union side, they got a lot of those tickets that they wanted, but the Union's about to go taking losses first. I think the CSA is going to get all their flags, and maybe the Union did get all theirs out. So then that's a good thing. Over on this side of the map, by the way, the CSA can move up to that fence. It would probably behoove them to do it together and just push this group back here, but otherwise you're just dumping tickets. But that's a big Union spawn wave way back there. And for whatever reason, these two CSA companies are not going to move up and support the push here, but maybe they got the word that all is well. Yeah. I mean, the Union almost got the CSA down to taking losses before 17 minutes, but it looks like, unless there's a bunch of rainbow here, that ain't gonna happen. It's gonna be a fairly long reset. And so we'll pick it up when they reset. Alright, so the Union looks about squared up. They just knocked the Union into taking losses officially. CSA is not that far off. Certainly a hot shootout or a melee will put the CSA there. Another crisp one. Again, I think if the Union wants to try that wide route as the CSA, you just say go ahead. I'm fairly confident that the way that this is being played, the Union still has to go for an early cap. And so if they want to do that long-range shooting stuff, that's not going to plink our tickets down enough. It looks like the Union still wants to do the put the CSA in taking losses and then pull for the early cap. I think as the CSA, you got to kind of know that. Maybe this group is getting the message and keeping their options open to make it here to point in a hurry. Yeah, you get a good sense as to how big this map is. And with we've almost maxed it out. A bit shy of 500, but only just. I'm only playing like this, and it's not too bad. Frames are not the greatest, but there was. It felt like more lag than usual on the when I was playing first person there. Where is this group here? Alright, they're back here. There's just, what is this, one Union guy? I don't know. Can he even get back? Well, he's out of line and dead, so doesn't matter. But now there's a concerted push to, look at that. Look at that. That is a blue line. It's actually two, but you know what I mean. Oh boy. Wow, they're using, I mean, this is peak sneakiness, right? Using the shade here. You're in the bushes. You got your sharps. You can hear the sharps. Right? It shoots different. Look at that double scoping. So cool. All right, I'm gonna say that guy with the sharps got that kill, and now the Union looks like they're gonna come up. And I assume play for an early cap. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just too much of a coward, and they're gonna go for trying to get the CSA in breaking and then just cap like that. But we'll see if the CSA has any of it. Trying to see about how many are dropping. Couple dropped over here.
Pull it back into the corner.
Wonder if that was
pull back. Cancel reloads. Pull it
from
back
that group down there. So I did not see. Oh, that's right. We had the 2 infantry lines, and then we had the sharps out on the flank. That's right.
Down these lines.
All right. So they're gonna pull back here. I'm guessing to get a little healthy, but they're also gonna snake their way to point. They might be able to steal a melee on this group. We'll see. But from the Union's point of view, cap recap doesn't give the defenders back any tickets because the defenders are up.
They're still there. We're gonna get right in their face. We're gonna shoot them up.
It's almost like I knew it was gonna happen. But all right, and so this is very crafty. This is very well done from the CSA. You had 2 options, I guess, which was to reform your line and wait for them to show up, or to just pull back and burn time off that black timer. And they chose probably the better option, which is to burn time off that black timer. And they will just, if they just play that kind of annoying cat and mouse and they always stay close enough, but without giving the Union a really good hot shootout or melee, they'll burn a lot of time off that black timer. Looks like a second CSA company might be coming over here to cut up some corn. We'll see. That Sharps group needs to start thinking about pulling back, I believe. You don't want to get pinched. Now, they're not going to get pinched at this point. There's too many CSA have concentrated on the other side, but, well, they're going to pull back anyways, so good for them. But the Union doesn't have to worry about final push or anything like that. That doesn't seem likely at this point. Yeah, so the CSA is maybe not maybe, they've overcommitted to moving this way. And they've created a window where, yeah, the Union is converging here on the point. And they're going to move to cap it, and the CSA is still moving in the wrong direction. And now the CSA is going to have to come up, and the Union's going to get to sit there and shoot them as they come in. Again, if the Union wanted to go on the flanks as the CSA, let them have it. It's too late in the game for it to matter, but Union's going to get on point, I assume. Right now it looks like they're just short of it, but they're doing the CSA a favor by, I think, by not capping yet. Is that a friendly shot there? Alright, so one CSA group has opted to go on a very dank flank. Union is capping, and this is going to be a hot shootout. The CSA has to make it a hot shootout. Where is that last? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. They're still trying to get over here. Now, when they get over here, it may well help, but we will see. The advantage of showing up first with the most is that you have more lead to throw in the opposite direction. You can see that CSA line is getting real thin, and that's why they got to go back behind the deflate, take off cap weight, and I think the Union's going to get a cap here. And this CSA group that is, again, they're just like clearing off the flanks rather than focusing on the fight that matters. Yeah. Yeah, so it looks like the Union's probably going to cap and wipe this group. CSA needs to get that flag out of there. But this allows the Union to potentially fight the CSA piecemeal, and you don't have to run back to where you were. You have to run back to where friendlies are. This will buy friendlies a bit of time. And you can see that this will get rid of the cap threat. The most important thing for the CSA, I was going to say, is to get that flag out, and they could not do that. And so now this allows the Union to actually have as much flag respawns as the defending CSA. What on earth? CSA is going to go breaking, it looks like, over some of these late casualties over just people who do not understand this game. Well, that was true in other cases. But, yeah, they need the flag, but there's just too many blue here. Alright. Well, yeah. I think the Union might try to get their flags up and out. I think Seanwalt got that flag up. I think not only did he kill the guy, and then the other Union guy just walked away from the flag. I think he just picked up the flag and got it out of there. So that was great. But yeah, those Union groups, they got to bail out of this. They got to get healthy for maybe 1-2 final pushes. Not you know, not the ticket thing, but now the CSA has way more bodies throwing lead at you, and they have all 4 flags up, and so that attrition advantage goes to the defenders. Who would have thought? Man, that was close. I thought the Union was going to cap and then charge that group off.
100.
CSA doesn't need to worry about tickets at this point. They only need to worry about the cap. There's no reason, given how much they just shot the Union up, that they should have to worry about going last stand. Triple canister, that is a man who understands War of Rights.
We're loading triple. Actually, we can get there.
Yep, the only thing that should matter for the CSA is cap weight at this point. The numbers are just about even. I believe well, we'll see what the artillery situation is. Union's done a good job of not putting too many guys in artillery. 11 versus 17. And so the Union has a very slight infantry advantage, but that's largely nullified by the extra flag the defenders are going to have, or the flag the attackers don't have because of the sharps.
Yeah, we got the most of this unit, so we have to respawn.
I don't know that this has to happen, but I guess if you just want to finish them off, push them out of here, and send them way back to spawn, it looks like there's Union infantry that are huffing it from spawn. I guess they didn't feel like waiting on flag. Folks, it's almost always better to wait on flag. It's almost always going to be faster, particularly on this map. Honestly, as attackers or defenders, yeah. I mean, yeah, putting the Union breaking is fine. You do have at least 2 upright Union flags here. But you got the CSA pushing up. Might be doing a little bit of showboating. But they've earned it. As long as it ends up playing smart. The rest of the CSA is committing. I think that's going to be GG because the Union's too divided, right? They got those guys way out there on the other side of Miller's cornfield. I mean, CSA can't lose cap now, but I really don't think that's a threat. Friend, you don't want to be running around in that field with that flag.
Get the flags into the corn. Get that flag.
That is correct. That is exact. And you didn't even do that, so. Yeah, it was well done by both sides. This is not an easy attack map, but it certainly is winnable. The flag disadvantage the attackers get for having the sharps. I think when the numbers are this high, maybe it becomes more of an asset to the defenders than it is to the attackers, right? You'd rather have the +1 flag because you're probably always going to be spawning people on it once combat starts. Right? And for the sharps, you get a higher rate of fire. You get some good-looking scope stuff, but you don't get to replace your casualties as quickly. So, and those long, prolonged shootouts, you're just going to be at a disadvantage. Wow, there's a lot of CSA guys who think that this is the Miller's Cornfield map. But, yeah, well done to the CSA there. But I think also to the Union. I suspect that everybody's in the same position with the update to ballistics, the introduction of scopes. You know, people got to recalibrate about when you shoot versus when you melee. And it's a 500-man test server. And I think the numbers do matter. The overall numbers do matter. And so, it's not like these guys haven't ever played it, but it's not exactly like it's been. And then there's just a lot of new players on the server. It's going to be a poor harvest for the Millers, man. And a victory charge into Miller's Cornfield by the CSA. Alright, let's get a look at these final casualties. It was a very odd ending set of sounds. This might be the normal daylight. This is what it was like when I first loaded in. But then the lights really came on and it looked like midday, so. It's easier to see on that map than it sometimes is. Yeah, from the casualties here, the attackers did a good job not taking more out of line deaths and throwing away their ticket advantage. Yeah, that they did have more skirmishing deaths. They were in that loose formation. They had more deaths overall, but I think they just needed a few more hot engagements earlier, or maybe an earlier cap to give themselves more time on that black timer, so that they weren't kind of rushing near the end. But I thought they had a chance. As they were moving to cap that point there. So, all right, I think we have Hagerstown next. I certainly hope we do. It's hard to pass up Hagerstown first person, but I might do it to bring it to you in third.